There it is. Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our July HR and Coffee. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Amber, who is going to be our lead speaker this morning. We'd like everyone to participate as well. But Amber is a seasoned HR leader with a strong background in transformation initiatives, as well as people programs and leadership coaching. She's really recognized for her skill in navigating complex organizational dynamics, and she delivers impactful and sustainable HR solutions. Amber is deeply committed to fostering employee well-being and cultivating positive company culture, making sure your HR strategy or her HR strategy aligns seamlessly with your business objectives. Her approach combines thoughtful, strategic guidance with a focus on personal and professional growth to drive long-term success. Amber holds the SHRM CP credential and an MBA from Mount St. Mary's University. She's also a certified life coach as well as an international best-selling author of 3 books. With that, I'll turn it over to Amber.
Thank you. All right, let me get started and share my screen. So hopefully everyone has their coffee or drink of choice in the morning. And let me move this around. I'm just going to make my Zoom thing a little smaller so I can. If you have any questions, by the way, I'm not going to be able to see everyone, so please put them in the chat or just come off mute and ask. But welcome to HR and Coffee. We are going to talk about resilient teams, resilient business. So when you're running a small business, every person really does count. So this presentation explores how to foster a culture of support and resilience so your business doesn't grind to a halt when life gets hard. We all know things come up. We all know things happen. So how do we navigate that? Why resilience matters for small businesses. So we know that there's about 50% more turnover because of burnout. So burnout really truly does have a huge impact, not only for the organization, but the employees. Especially, if someone quits, then someone else takes over some of their responsibilities until that role is filled, if it's filled. 150% is the replacement cost of that one employee. So that is the cost to replace that employee, their salary, the training, the time that it takes for someone else to, mentor them and get them up to speed. And 41% less absenteeism. Businesses with strong wellness cultures report 41% less absenteeism. That is a huge number. And it's very important because, it's great for our employees to take PTO, but when they call out because they're sick, they just need more time off, it really does impact the organization and the other employees. Small businesses are especially vulnerable when team members face personal challenges because there's typically, the responsibilities of that team member do not halt. So typically in small businesses, those things have to still get done. So we're trying to get someone else in to fill that role while that person's out, which causes more burnout for that employee. So what are some of the common challenges facing for employees? So what are they facing? So grief and personal loss. This is a huge one. And I can speak personally to this just because, it's hard. We have bereavement leave, but bereavement leave is typically only, 3 days for a close family member. And if you think about it, like when my mom passed away several years ago, it's hard because you're in the mix of everything. You're doing, you're planning for the funeral, the viewing, all of those things. And then what happens afterwards? You have to go back to work, but then all the finances need taken care of, all of the leftover things need taken care of. So that does face a huge challenge for employees who are still trying to navigate work and home life. We've got mental health issues. So we're seeing a huge increase in anxiety, depression, and stress, which helps with burnout. It doesn't help, it adds to it. Caregiving responsibilities. If you're in that sandwich generation, you're at the point where you not only have your children that you're taking care of, but also elderly parents. or any ill family members. So you have, both sides of that. So caregiving responsibilities, especially with those who have elderly parents, and navigating the ins and outs of the caregiving for that is a huge responsibility. And then financial hardship and major life transitions. So, financial hardship, we never know what's going to happen with the economy, but, everyone has their own personal financial hardships in one way or another, and just learning how to navigate that while still trying to work and deal with, potentially all of these other pieces. Business impact of unaddressed personal struggles. So if these personal struggles are not addressed, here's what happens. We have productivity drops, deadlines are missed, customer satisfaction suffers, cascading burnout. It could lead to other team members absorbing the load, which I talked about earlier. So, they're taking on those other responsibilities because in small businesses, the work still needs done. So who's going to take that over? Who's going to do that? Even if you're splitting up those responsibilities between several other team members, it still could cause added stress to those employees that are there. High turnover, loss of institutional knowledge. So you could have seasoned employees just leave and they have a lot of knowledge of that industry or that organization. So you're losing a lot of knowledge in there. And then you're having to retrain new hires, and trying to get them up to speed to where that previous employee was. And then negative culture. It really does harm morale and recruitment. I know in recruiting, a lot of times potential candidates will ask, well, why is this position open? Why does it need filled? What happened to the last person? That's a question that comes up pretty commonly. And with morale, if people are just leaving, it makes the employees that are staying question, why are they leaving? Like, what is going on? Is my position safe? Because sometimes they don't always know why other employees are leaving. They don't know that it's for personal reasons. So it could harm the morale and create a negative culture. So here are some strategies for building team resilience. And at the end, we will have a handout, which is great, to help you with building that resilience. And it's kind of a self check and checking into how you can help build your resilience as well. And we'll also email it out. Regular check ins. I am a huge proponent of regular check ins. You want to spot early warning signs through one on one conversations. It does not have to be a formal conversation, it could just be a pick up the phone, call that person, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Anything I can help support you with? It could be if you're in the office, just stop and just say, hey, how are you? And don't do it while you're walking right past them. Do it and intentionally stop and show that your attention is fully on that individual. It means a lot more, and they would be more willing to open up if you actually stop instead of walk right on by. Cross training. So we want to make sure that we are cross training our teams. We want to make sure that you can ensure coverage when someone is out. So when someone's out, what happens if, let's say for instance, a payroll needs run and you've never run a payroll? How does that get done? So cross training is really important, making sure that your employees are able to pick up some of the pieces if an employee leaves or if they're out for an extended period of time. Flexible options. So if you are able, I know as a small business, it is definitely difficult to have flexible options. I hear this quite a bit. But just trying to navigate through what flexible options you could offer as an organization. And that could be, flexible work or, whether they come in earlier in the day or they work later in the day, they can work weekends to make up some of the work if that's an option. If you're working in the office, is there times that they could work from home? Having that hybrid option. So anytime that you are able to offer that flexibility so that they could take some time off to caregive and even their own self recovery and still be able to get the work done. It's not so much pressure for them to be able to get it done within a certain amount of time. If you have that option, it's great. And then support resources. So we're going to talk a little bit about EAPs, the employee assistance programs, or any local wellness resources. There's a ton of resources out there that are free. that we, don't necessarily utilize to the full capacity because we don't know that they're available to us. But there are EAPs, usually at a pretty low cost. And then we do have local wellness resources. So it could be local gyms. They offer a discount to organizations. It could be a wellness center that does free blood pressure checks, or the pulse oxygen checks, or things like that, that you could even have them come into the office. And banks, there's a lot of banks. I know that we talk about financial hardships, so financial wellness. Banks can actually, I know a few of them that will let the bank come in and just give a free workshop to the employees, and help them set up a savings account. And that could even potentially come through their payroll deductions to go right into just a little bit going into a savings account for them, and retirement plans. Even if one's not offered at the organization, they can set up a retirement plan through an outside party. So there's lots of resources out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about the employee assistance programs. They really truly do have a high value. If you get a good one, there's a lot of good ones out there, but if you get a good one, they have a lot of value at a low cost. And it's typically, a small amount per employee, and it's completely confidential. So, if an employee takes advantage of the EAP, the only thing that the organization or the person who is kind of in charge of the EAP will know is how many employees have used it, not who, not what they used it for. So it really truly is great for an employee to feel safe to reach out to the EAP. And they have the confidential counseling. So, with the mental health support, they have a counselor that they can go, and there's a certain amount of sessions that they can go and receive free counseling. Financial guidance, they do have coaches available for financial guidance to help them talk through maybe budgeting or saving, or what is going on at this moment, so that the employee can really help with that financial piece. And then, and these are not like you can only pick one, you can go to as many as you need, but some of them also offer legal assistance. So let's say there's an instance where, they're dealing with child custody, or a divorce, or if a parent dies, you have to now figure out what you can do for the other parent. So they do offer legal assistance, and they're pretty low cost that you can go and get some advice. And then, of course, if you need to retain an attorney, they do offer discounts with several um, I want to say several local attorney offices. And the typical costs are less than $20 per employee per year. So I've seen like a dollar something per employee. It varies, but it is very low cost. So $20 per employee per year, and they could have access to all of this. And why does an employee assistance program matter? Most EAPs will help if the employees are utilizing it. It will help improve productivity and morale, reduces absenteeism and turnover, reinforces a culture of care, and protects both people and business. So, again, it's confidential, they can utilize it, and it is a small investment with a big return. One of the biggest things I see is that EAPs are not utilized to its full capacity. And if you have an EAP and you're like, I don't really have employees using it, just remind them that it's there. It may be a specific thing that comes up, and uh, you want to send out a memo or an email just as like, hey, just remember, or maybe monthly spotlight a service that the EAP offers and send it out as an email to the workforce. It just, that constant reminder that it's there, it will definitely be utilized more.
And I'm really curious, does anyone on the phone have an EAP that they've utilized?
We use one. I work for a larger manufacturing company,
Okay.
and we do use one. It's the utilization that is our challenge, right? And what happens is, even with the emails and the spotlights and things,
Mhm.
it's the flood of emails that people get as well, and maybe
Yes.
hitting the culture or the people who aren't desk employees, right? They're not
Yeah.
sitting at a computer all day, making sure. So we target more like flyers and things like that to get their attention. We have an issue though too, with with provider fatigue, right? There's so many different providers that we have for different things. So we're looking to consolidate and using our health plan, who also has an EAP as well, so we can streamline those things.
That's
But
a
yeah,
good idea.
we do find it to be very useful, both to team members and to leaders.
Yeah. And managers. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good morning, team. One of my clients utilizes EAP two ways. It does offer the regular EAP through Care First, but then also through the long-term disability plan, there is an additional EAP that's offered for folks who are in that situation, because that presents a whole new set of complications for you personally, financially, health related. So they have the option of using the regular EAP through Care First if they need to, but then through their long-term care provider, they also have an EAP when they're in that status. And that seems to be, I don't know that anybody's used it again, but it is one of those additional offerings that an employer can give to their employees when they find themselves in that kind of a unique and very difficult circumstance.
Yeah. That's great. And a lot of times, just to jump in with the insurance piece, a lot of times the insurance companies will offer different free programs just because you have the insurance set up through the organization. They do have a ton of free programs that employees can utilize.
One question I wanted to ask everyone, good morning, just to piggyback off of what Brent said, because sometimes people get it confused, like long-term disability versus long-term care. And I was very familiar with the long-term care program years ago, but I'm not sure if there are a lot of vendors that offer that anymore. That's more of like a life benefit for the employee to support their families and things like that. Does anybody know of any carriers that offer the true long-term care benefit? Because I think that is a phenomenal piece that if I utilized it when my mom passed away and I needed it. So if anybody knows of any organizations that offer, maybe we could just kind of look into and maybe recommend to clients, that would be great.
I believe
Uh,
Aflac still offers that long-term care benefit as, you could purchase it alone on your own, but I believe Aflac still offers that benefit.
I
Last time
think so too. And
Okay.
New York Life as well, I think.
Okay. I'm actually
yeah,
meeting with Affleck today, so we will see.
and
Yeah.
also, any broker that does supplemental benefits, like we have a relationship with MWE Partnerships,
Mhm.
they definitely have a long-term care offering that they can offer to employees as individuals that can be
Mhm.
portable.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I had a long-term care at my previous employer. It's through TransUnion. I'm not sure if they're still
Mhm.
offering that, but I was at a previous organization, and it again, as Kimberly said, it's portable, so I still have it, although my current employer doesn't offer it. And I think my previous employer said that maybe whether it was TransUnion, they stopped doing that business, but I know I still have a plan and it is with
Mhm.
TransUnion.
Thank you.
Great feedback. Thank you. All right, so we're almost done, and then I will jump off my screen so we can chat. So again, some more low cost wellness ideas for small teams, monthly check-ins. This is just kind of a reminder, monthly check-ins, or un uh now I can't think of the word, but just check-ins. Just go and check in with your employees. Local resources, like we just talked about, compile and share mental health and caregiver resources. A rest space. Now, this would be fantastic. I know like big organizations offer specific rest spaces, but if you're able to, just maybe a quiet area for overwhelmed employees. Sometimes it can be overwhelming when there's a lot of noise and someone just needs to step out and have quiet for a little bit. And then wellness days, encourage the use of PTO or implement wellness day policies. You could even have a wellness day, where you have like a couple hours or a half a day where different organizations come in and provide some wellness information. When you're a small business, resilience isn't just a mindset, it's a strategy. So here's some action steps to building a culture of resilience. So start by checking in, ask your team what support they need, Implement one change. Don't do it all at once. It becomes too much, but identify an immediate low cost improvement that you can implement right now. Review your policies, access for flexibility and compassion, and make wellness regular. Include it in any team discussions and planning. Remember that business resilience begins with human resilience. All right, let me stop sharing. Okay, so any questions or anyone want to jump on with any additional feedback, any resources that you've utilized that work really well or don't work really well so you can save people some time?
You want to say in our handout, I put some national resources, but they really need to be filled in with some of your local resources that are there if you're looking at your own resources. And you could use it as a template for as a handout to employees if you wanted to give them like a suicide call line or things like that as well.
We recently started bringing in massage therapists. So
Nice.
we're small. We're about 150 employees, but in our particular headquarters, we're about 100. And we started off with maybe like 7 or 8 minutes, and it went off so well the first year. We've continued to do it, and we've increased the time to 15 minutes. So now we have 2 massage therapists come in. So employees really like that, and we don't necessarily pay for it. We use our wellness credits through our
Nice.
healthcare provider, so it pays for itself really.
That's amazing. That's a great
Yeah.
perk.
And that's the other thing. Check if you have insurance, check the insurance to see if you have wellness bucks, wellness money that you can use. Sometimes you get a budget and you don't even know you have it.
Mhm.
I was talking to Amber the other day. I'm not sure how to put it together for small businesses, but a wellness fair, just kind of incorporated with the benefits, just to kind of introduce everything because people don't know, which is kind of sitting at the bottom of their insurance policy other than the medical. But trying to just with the clients that I have, trying to get that to work with 3 shifts is kind of hard. So talking through maybe how to do that virtually.
Mhm.
Stay tuned.
I can't wait.
If you have a recognition program too, you can always leverage that, right? And have wellness events. Hey, if you complete these activities, you can get points for, something else that I've found to be a really good way to get people's attention. Everybody likes a little extra motivator. My question more for you is, there's a lot of pressure on team members to be in charge of their own wellness. How do we get leaders to really lean in and managers to lean in and be champions of that? Because in HR, we hear things from different leaders. Oh, that person just needs anxiety meds, or they just need to be more resilient, or it's the employee's responsibility. How do we get leaders to take more ownership?
You mean to take over more ownership for the employees, like to promote it, to
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think that the first thing is to model it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think being the example, yeah.
Yeah, they have to, the leaders have to model it. So, and I know it gets very difficult to like, because you're like, oh yeah, promote wellness, do this. But then in the background, they're like burnout and getting tired and exhausted. But I think it's just reiterating to the leaders, like you have to take care of you. What do they say? Well, like the airplane, put on your mask before you help others put on their mask. So you have to keep reiterating with them how important it is to take care of yourself, because you can't show up for your best self for your team if you can't take care of yourself. So I think it's just that constant reiteration and just again showing them, here's the resources, go do this. Like we need, or give them a specific time, a half a day or something, and say, take this time and do this. And Kimberly just put a great video in the chat for you to check out. But it's how leaders can support mental health. But it's just that reiteration, I think, to show them it's important for you to show up for yourself first so you can show up for everyone else better.
I think the numbers with leaders, anything that convinces them of the numbers of the financial return really help. Like if you put a dollar to the productivity or anything like that, it's going to help them be convinced because they do want a productive business. They do want a resilient business, right? How do they do it? Wellness, right? But maybe don't lead with the word wellness because it's been played for a while. And that's kind of where we came up with the title for this, because business owners want productivity and they want wellness and they want employees who are engaged, right? And doing their job well, who show up. And that all makes a difference if you can tie it to actual numbers. If you run the numbers on absenteeism, things like that, it can really make a big impact, even if you reduce it by a small percentage.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, the terminology, right?
Mhm.
Using that resilience. I think that especially if you have more old school leaders who feel like it's, I hate to say this, but they feel like it's fluff, and it's not. We know it's not. It's just getting through to them, speaking their language. But that's a great suggestion.
Anything else? Well, we definitely appreciate you joining us this morning and taking your time to participate in this conversation. And we definitely encourage that if there are topics that you want to hear about, that you let us know about it. You can either put it in the chat or email us. We email after each one of these. And so if you respond to that email and say, hey, I'd love to talk about this or hear a little bit more about this, we definitely appreciate it. Hopefully you drank your coffee and you feel ready to go and start your day today. So we absolutely appreciate it and look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you,
Thank
Amber.
Have a great
you.
week.
You.
Thank you. Bye.